आता तुमचं तुम्हीच जाणार.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll be starting our webinar in next 10 minutes. Within a minute, sorry. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our today's session on Lean Cloud Tech for Learning Tech. We have gathered to understand how cloud tech and learning tech have evolved during the times and how the various organizations are benefiting from this. I would like to request all the attendees, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into our chat session. I'll bring them up in our question and answer session. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to the speakers. Sorry for the delay. We have our today's speaker. We have with us with Vikas Mathur, who is the Vice President of Sales at Renocade. After 18 years in leadership role in various IT organizations, including Tech Data, Tata Communications, Xerox Corporation, and HCL Infosystem, Vikas has joined Renocade in October 2018. He developed and managed cloud education portfolio for Tech Data and Renocade from ground up. He led the field revenue and enablement effort across multiple geographies and oversaw core function, including education sales, training deliveries, operations, and professional services. Our second speaker joining with us today is Desmond Chan, who is the co-founder and chief product officer at Aquila Clouds. Desmond is a true believer of IT enablement through simplification, which is a guiding principle at Aquila Cloud. He has held product and marketing leadership position at companies in space of cloud, DevOps, and artificial intelligence. For example, H2O AI, Veritas, VMware, and Software AGs. Desmond receives an MBA degree from UC Berkeley and an MS degree in computer science from Stanford University. Our third speaker joining with us is Vivek Bide, who has worked with top world-class companies like Adobe System, BMC Software, NVIDIA Graphics in USA and India. And now he's driving digital transformation, focusing on knowledge management areas. As a complete software professional, Vivek's leading ideas is to bring technology capabilities and make them useful in real-world use cases, focusing on ICT, education, banking, and pharma industry, etc. So, I would like to moving to the question. I would like to see how do you see cloud techs and learning techs evolving together. I would like to ask our speakers to share some insights on them.
Great. So who should start first?
Desmond, you can go ahead.
Okay, great. Yes, yeah, that's a wonderful question. So from my perspective, it is imperative that learning tech moves to the cloud because of its flexibility. Learning tech evolves around like communication between many people, including teachers and students and other stakeholders. Scalability is key here, and cloud can fulfill this promise. As learning tech evolves, it will address more use cases such as allowing the students to do online homework in their own virtual machines and have like one-on-one tutoring sessions and taking tests online and a lot more. So all of these require a well thought out system architecture, which delivers the service level agreement and can be scaled while remaining lean and cost effective. So all of these require cloud technologies that can continuously monitor and continuously optimize the learning tech cloud systems. So I believe that the two streams of technologies will fuel the evolution of each other.
Vivek, would you like to add, would you like to share your insights on this?
Sure. I think very apt question at the right time, because I think learning is pretty prevalent at this point of time in cross sector, cross organizations, so be it manufacturing, pharma, technology. I think organizations are looking at upskilling their employees, and given where we are at this point of time, scale is definitely one area that learning technologies is able to solve by having cloud technology supporting it, just because of the very nature that companies are becoming global. And then cloud essentially helps them to kind of enable that part as well. The second part then becomes the cultural aspect when we are trying to learn things, and then the content which is also going to be posted based on which country that you are in, especially on the localization front. You need not necessarily have to worry about how much content is really kind of going in, because cloud is able to kind of make sure that the streaming is happening at the right speed. You need not worry about a lot of aspects around scalability, storage, and things like that. And I think that given how learning tech is evolving, I think cloud tech is certainly helping it to be a major part in the growth story for the learning technologies. And I think it's vice versa as well, because learning technologies are growing. I think it is enabling the technologies to support them at the same time. So it's kind of mutually beneficial to both the areas here. Yeah.
Vikas, you would like to add your thoughts on the same?
Yes, sure, and great question. Thanks for asking this. I totally agree with Vivek and Desmond, because we all know that in this continuous evolving tech world, one need to be continuously upskilling themselves, right, to remain relevant. And because we personally believe that learning could always be continuous, rather lifelong learning, the learning tech itself need that kind of accessibility, the scalability, flexibility, and overall the security. Which comes by virtue of going global in nature. So all these features and attributes are available only because cloud tech exists. So while we keep our network scalable, while we keep our infrastructure scalable, all these things should be also accessible in the moment, right? So and hence we personally believe that learning tech and the cloud tech go hand in hand and will evolve together. The whole idea of learning anything from anywhere actually is possible because we have cloud tech along with learning tech.
Thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts on this. Now moving to our next question. What are the important elements in cloud infra that we need to look at for learning tech? Desmond, you would like to share your thoughts on this?
Perfect. Yes. Yeah, for learning tech, as I mentioned, a well thought out system architecture is very important. And this involves all the due diligence and making sure that the costs are contained and then SLAs are delivered. In cloud infrastructure, there are many things that can go wrong. For example, like storage can be oversized, or like instances can be oversized, and you need to allocate sufficient bandwidths for the real-time communications via visuals, like voice, text, and etc. And also like in your environment, is there any public IP addresses that can be gotten rid of? Like, this is for like cost and security reasons. And what kind of database to use, right? Like, like now when you move from on-prem to the cloud, do you think that you can get the same transaction rates, or like if you have like any databases, they're not even being used, and then and they're costing you money, right? So all of these, like, there's like a cost perspective, there's like a security perspective, and there is like performance perspective that you need to look at, on your infrastructure. And I can go on and on with this list, but most importantly, I think that you will need to work with a cloud management platform that can automate all of these monitoring and optimization for you. Because in the cloud, like, the complexity is getting like just astronomical. You have so many different virtual machines and so many different like network components or like storage components that you need to put together, and then like it's not just one application that you need to take care of. Like, say, so many other things that need to come together in order for you to deliver a service. So like, it's no longer humanly possible. And for this reason, I would like to advocate for learning tech vendors to look at like cloud technologies that can, like I said, like help you automate all of these monitoring and optimization for you.
Okay. Thank you, Desmond, for sharing your thoughts. Vivek and Vikas, would you like to add onto this?
Sure. Sure. I can add, and I think what Desmond alluded towards, scalability and performance are definitely key. So when we from Immersive actually go and start evangelizing the customer needs, we definitely run into, hey, how can I save cost, or how do I make sure my infrastructure is secured for supporting all the adaptive learning nature of personal information of my users and organization. And that's where we start looking at how cloud really is coming to help there in terms of addressing all these needs. So completely concur with Desmond on this.
Okay, thank you so much, Vivek. Moving on to the next question, what possibilities in learning techs are opening up due to the innovation in cloud? I think Vivek, I think you should add on this.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think there are just enormous number of possibilities which are starting to open up, given where we are with cloud technology support. I think when we were started off decades back, learning management system were kind of a very LAN-oriented area where you had to be on a certain lab to take a certain test or an assessment for it to be really productive. And at that point of time, we used to call that as an online learning. From there on, we have kind of come a long way, and with the ability that now the infrastructure has to support, making it global, making it more secure, and making it more adaptive. I think there were a lot of theories in learning, especially around making content personalized, making sure that you are able to have learning paths defined, depending on which area that you really want to learn, making it more efficient and effective, right? Means in terms of saving time. Currently, the in-classroom trainings usually take about 8 hours, but if you're trying to kind of move towards online learning, it essentially brings down the micro-learning kind of nuggets into even half of the time that usually you may end up spending in the classroom. But the challenges were pretty high, because if you want to convert the in-classroom training also into an online version, it becomes a little bit more challenging for us to kind of look at how do we do that? Is the infrastructure right? How do I support my global audience? And then so on and so forth. But given where we are at this time with cloud, and especially with the multi-cloud nature of things, some of the things that also comes in play is about the cost savings nature. Of course, apparently learning and training, although it is very important, in my opinion, I've seen organizations not giving that level of priority to this area. And then we, of course, advocate that why it is really important. However, given the budgets that the organizations really try to assign to this area are very, very smaller than the rest of the part. Now, within that small budgets, how the L&D managers or how customer success managers can help to make sure that they are achieving their targets of customer engagement by using education strategies and around those kind of things. And that's where I think cloud again comes in play to support that level of scale with the limited budget that you have, right? So in terms of not just reaching out to global audience, but even at paper user, right? So for example, now I can only assign one course to a user and only charge from that rather than actually selling a complete package to a company and the companies are not able to pay that much, right? So there are a lot of nice revenue models that also have evolved in the learning technology because of the cloud enablement. Now you have paper content, paper user, multiple paper users. If you are a Netflix addict or if you are actually on Netflix, you can actually see how models have evolved around content consumption. And that's again is a part of the story within learning technologies as well that enables that is enabled by cloud tech. So I think they really have go hand in hand now. You can't talk about learning tech without not talking about cloud tech. And of course, cloud tech is a bigger superset because cloud tech also applies to a lot many other areas. However, learning tech is definitely starting to evolve much more and much better with the support that it's getting from the cloud tech right now. So.
Thank you so much, Vivek. Desmond and Vikas, would you like to add on this?
Sure. Yeah, Vikas, go ahead.
Yep. Thanks, Desmond. Thank you. So, right. So as Vivek rightly said, there are various modes, enterprises today and the individuals are adopting to upskill themselves and take those learning. And more so because cloud as technology is evolving every day, the need of upskilling and cross-skilling and the enterprise themselves is also becoming the need of the hour. So there are various modes, as Vivek pointed out. There are e-learning available, there are self-paced options available, there are content on demand available, there's instructor-led online trainings available, and all those things, they have seen a major shift, on how they go to the market, how the user leverage those technologies, those classes, at his fingertips. And that was possible, as we talked about, because of cloud tech. We have witnessed in last 8 months, because of current pandemic, that all of us actually were forced to work from our homes, and the lot of pressures that were built up in terms of operations, in terms of delivery, in terms of supporting our customers and deriving the solutions. All that was possible because cloud tech was there. It was available, it was scalable, it was secure because we were working outside our office infrastructure. So security was also ensured. And more importantly, people were able to learn those skills on demand, which they were requiring, which they needed that time, to support their solutions and to work out their solutions. So totally agree with Vivek. These are going hand in hand, and needless to say, a skilled workforce and a trained organization is well equipped to support their customer demands and to support them all the more better.
Thank you so much, Vikas. Desmond, would you like to add?
Yes. This is a topic that is very close to heart for me. As you know, like our company actually deals with all these cloud technologies, and the key of scalability, is definitely fulfilled by the cloud. And there are many other aspects that we should look at. For example, like governance. If you want to give a virtual machine to a student for them to do homework, right? Do you want to allow them to spin up any type of virtual machines, or like do you want to keep them in a certain class so that you don't drive the cost up? or like if you want to like provide a budget for a certain class, right? Like for this course offering, I only want to spend $1,000 US dollars on for all of these system infrastructure and whatnot. How can you like deliberately have governance on all of your cloud infrastructure in the context of all these projects like students and whatnot? You know, I think it's a big topic for the system architects to think through all of these.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
well, just to kind of add on to what Desmond was saying, and sorry to take turns again on this one, but I think that it makes a pretty big point around how the economics of learning technology is being now enabled, right? Means you see a lot of free courses offered by universities. How is that possible, right? Means the money is supposed to be coming from somewhere and needs to be spent by someone to somewhere, right? So nothing comes really free, but someone is paying someone to make sure that something is getting free for someone, right? So in that case, I think universities are certainly paying things to cloud technology, but again, universities are not funded that great. So how do we make sure that that part is taken care in a very to provide economies of scale when we are trying to kind of have numerous terabytes of content being posted on university websites now for users, and not just universities. Even if you start looking at LinkedIn Learning or Skilljar or any of these content providers, some of the courses are becoming free. Of course, that's one of the ways for users to start getting engaged for the learning. But the companies do have to make sure that they are able to scale at the end of the day, and that's where cloud is actually coming in handy for us to kind of keep the cost low. Imagine an infrastructure where you have to have dedicated machines and software and people to support that, versus now you're just kind of having all the your learning management system, your learning experience systems, LXPs and LMSs on hosted on cloud, and the content gets enabled. That's just tremendous amount of savings that we are able to kind of achieve now. Given the savings, of course, is learning happening in the right way is also something that we need to look at, right? Means are users able to learn? And I think the answer to that is yes, because it is also enabled mobility devices, right? So now users can start learning when they're traveling, and that has definitely helped to get more people engaged in terms of where and how they're learning. Right from recipes at home, right, to your kids doing online learning at home, right? So there is just enormous amount of range, especially on the learning technologies that people are kind of experiencing with the evolution of cloud technology support.
And you know what, just to add Vivek here, because the enterprise today in the industry may not be totally aware about how to optimize, how to monitor, and how to save cost on the infrastructure on cloud. Just to add, there are few additions in the course curriculums which are announced, interestingly, just not on technical parts, but just how to manage the cost while operating on the cloud effectively. So just to top up on what you and Desmond talked about.
Great.
Thank you, panel, for sharing your valuable insight. Moving on to the next question, how do we ensure we have skilled resources to take up these challenges and drive the possibilities? Vikas, would you like to share your thoughts?
Yeah, sure, and thanks for asking again. This is a great question, and to actually fill those skilled resource gap, one fastest way, of course, is one can hire the skilled resources which are available in the industry. But we all know that the skilled resources, the dearth of skilled resources is at what level as of today. So I personally believe that there is no better investment than educating the existing employees, upskilling them, cross-skilling them on the platforms and the tools what the other peers are working. And more important, drive the culture of learning, upskilling, and lifelong learning, within the organization. By imparting the continuous learning, they not only will be able to meet the future demands of their customers, of their projects, but also continuously evolve themselves to be able to remain ahead in the race. So the organization can set training goals, can set certification goals, can motivate employees on training completion, can reward employees on successful passing the certification exams, conduct the skill gap analysis between what is required level of skills, what is available. So all those things an enterprise can do to be able to be better ready for the future. And most importantly, choose the right learning partner who have the capabilities, who can meet those learning objectives of the organization. And take the complete transformation journey or contribute to the full transformation journey in a significant way, because once the enterprise and resources know how to use those tools and technologies, they'll be able to turn on their solutions quickly, and that's no rocket science, sir. So in terms of supporting customers better, but also to validate the competencies, I think the culture of training should be inculcated within the organization. And more so when we are seeing the cloud adoption taking in a full speed ahead. A strong foundation of cloud technologies is valuable to the widespread range of employees. So be it a cloud architect who is working on the infrastructure part, or be it a developer who is working on developing in cloud solutions or cloud-based application, or be it a security or a network engineer. Everyone is today is expected to be multi-skilled, and by gaining multiple competencies, they will not only accelerate their own growth, but also will make themselves an eligible candidate to be able to contribute to the entire organization growth objectives.
Thank you, Vikas. Vivek, would you like to add?
Oh yeah, I think again, couldn't agree more with Vikas. All right, so you have your learning management system, you have your content, and you also decide on, hey, yes, I want to go with cloud, right? Now, but the question is, do you have skilled resources to support that, right? And especially on the cloud, and given that how fast the cloud is growing, I think it is very important that we have the right people. Because the technologies are constantly evolving, AWS, Google, and Azure, and within the competition themselves, and within the feature sets that they have to offer, right? And their curriculums are evolving, their certifications are evolving. So it's very, very key for us to kind of just make sure that we have the right people supporting from the cloud. Now, there are, of course, a good different I would say layers on top of that on AWS and Azure. That's where probably Desmond's company plays a role to make sure that they are able to kind of extract that information and are able to kind of provide a little bit more help. So now you are actually having a good equation of a trained and a skilled resource within your organization, or with a managed partner, with the tools that probably Desmond and Akila may have to offer in terms of trying to help optimize the cost, right? So it essentially then you are trying to kind of have win-win. But going back on the learning side, right now we talked about the cloud skilled, of course, but going on the learning side, I think there are various areas where organizations are looking at scaling. For example, onboarding process. There is such big attrition. There are challenges for new hires who kind of come on board. And now, because of the pandemic, people were able to kind of work from home, right? And they were still able to get onboarded while they were actually working from home. So how do you solve an onboarding process when an employee is able to kind of come on board remotely? And again, that's where technologies such as learning management systems or your content management systems also play a big part in making sure that your learning paths are defined well. Your onboarding process is very KPI oriented, right? All these measures and data analytics that actually can then can give more information about improving how you can onboard your employees better. There is another aspect around uh, data analysis, right? And then one of the things, in fact, we run into one of the companies recently, which who are doing sales enablement trainings, and then this is something that is a good idea, which I thought maybe I should share here, is that they are starting to process voice recording and sales meeting with their customers, and then trying to see if people are using the right pitch, if they are using the right keywords, and all this is possible by fast processing power, right? And that's where machine learning algorithms and AI algorithms kind of starts coming in play, where analysis and feedback, and not just feedback, but very personalized feedback is given on the fly. Now, where does this entire analysis and churn happens? That essentially needs, again, more compute power, which again needs to have cloud. So it's not just the learning hosting systems that the cloud are acting, but it is also giving a lot of data analytics on the fly, which the users on the field, especially on the sales enablement side, may need directly to analyze who the customer is, what they're pitching, how they are pitching, what did they miss, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty interesting opportunities that kind of starts opening up in terms of providing the compute as well as providing the platforms, right? So that's a good assimilation there. But again, just possibilities are opening up from machine learning and AI perspective also in that space. And for that also, we will need some people who are very well skilled, again, in that nature, which probably Vikas will vouch for, to make sure that you get certified also at the same time, right? So Desmond, I don't know if you concur or if you have more thoughts on this. So.
Yes, I definitely concur. I mean, like, what strikes me in this conversation is really towards continuous learning. And I really admire what Immersive and Trinity are doing in terms of like enabling all these trainings for organizations and like lifetime learning for the employees, for the individuals. Coming from the technology world, I can appreciate how the technologies are always like evolving. There is like, there was big data maybe like 5 to 10 years back, and then like now like we evolve into like AI, ML, like Apache Spark, and then like using Kubernetes to manage your microservices, and now like GPUs are like the big thing right now. Like NVIDIA stocks are like flying, rising every day. So like, but anyway, like I sidetracked. The point is like, technologies are evolving, like knowledge is evolving, and then people need to upscale themselves, and having all of these content and training available to individuals is key. And then how do we make sure that in the back end, like the cloud technologies can catch up? I think that is something that I think everyone should pay more attention to. So like totally like admire what you're doing.
Yeah, just adding one more use case, and maybe this is for the benefit of others, is compliance trainings are also very key, right? Because if you are in an industry which is regulated, especially in pharma, right? And we have been working with the pharma industry a lot, especially on their compliance trainings around data integrity or CGMP and so on. Compliance trainings become mandatory, right? And at that point of time, it becomes very key for the trainings to happen quickly, not have people kind of go through a boring self-paced learning, but kind of get into a little bit more interactive content there. But net, I think the certification becomes very key for the people who are into regulated industry, especially on the compliances side. And that kind of probably is also a play which maybe Vikas also kind of look at from how the trainings can be offered to make sure that the compliance is being met. And then of course we need to have a channel, which of course is your learning management systems within pharma to kind of support that. Now pharma also has 21 CFR Part 11 compliances and so on and so forth. But the idea is to make sure that you essentially have the right level of skills imparted at the right time to the right employees so that they can kind of scale, help scale your organizations, and then make sure that the compliances are met. Because I think this compliance word is very key when it gets into pharma or any regulated industries, so to say. I don't know, Vikas, if you have experienced something like this.
Certainly can't agree more on this, Vivek, because, and you talked about two things here. One is upskilling, which is training, and second is certification. So while these are mixed up things and goes hand in hand, but these two things are need to be looked at certainly certain differently, because when you talk about compliance thing, training is training alone will not do the needful. You will need to substantiate what you have learned, how capable you are, and you have to validate those skills by showing your certifications which you carry. So so in learning industry, the good part is that today whatever skills are being imparted, those are tagged to the corresponding certifications, and those certifications will actually help those organizations to achieve those compliance and regulations requirement which you talked about. So totally agree with you, Vivek, on that front.
Cool.
Thank you guys for sharing your thoughts on this. I hope our attendees have got enough details regarding it. So moving on to a question and answer session, just check with a few of our questions are there from our attendees. So there's one question for you, Desmond. Considering the cost of cloud and scalability need, how one can keep the cost in check?
Yes, yeah, that's a great question. So to keep the cost in check, I see there are 4 pillars of capabilities that need to be built within an organization. So the first one is real-time observability. You know, cloud operators need to be always in the know. Any changes in the cloud charges or a spike in cloud utilization should trigger an alert to the cloud operators so that they can look into like whether or not there's an anomaly, or there is somebody who hacks into their systems, or or just somebody misused their system, right? So real-time observability is very important here. And optimizability, like the cloud operators, they need to be equipped with recommendations for optimizations. So like I said, like many things can be over provisioned, or you may not have enough resources for some workloads and whatnot, right? It goes both ways. And so we will need, like the cloud operators will need to understand like where to optimize and how to optimize. And these, again, they will have to rely on some tool, like for recommendation. And then like governance. Learning tech companies, they may have budgets for different projects, and then each project needs to be delineated in terms of your own spending and tracked and governed accordingly. And then for a larger a project, like you may have like different collaborators, and then how do you do chargeback and whatnot. And also like within one project, like I said, like do you want to allow for a certain type of virtual machines to be used? Do you want to enable GPU in this project and whatnot? Like you need to have like the high level governance, from a centralized governance that the cloud operators or the administrators can just just impose on the whole organization. And again, like now we're talking about the cost, right? And when you talk about cost, it's very essential that the finance team and the cloud operations team or the IT teams are talking. The finance team, they watch very much about like the dollars. The cloud operations team, they look at the performance, and the two teams have to come together. And then communication is key here. So like, how do we have a tool that enables such communication, and then enable the communication to be with sufficient data and this and that, right? So that part, even though it may sound like a soft capability, but it's very essential here. So all in all, there are 4 capabilities that I would recommend that a learning tech company build within their companies. And then to just a plug, right? Like Aquila Clouds, like we work with these 4 pillars in our products. So like, you know, if you're looking for a cloud management platform, like that is what we do. Yeah.
Thank you, Desmond. Vikas, would you like to add on to this?
Yeah, certainly. And of course, we cannot agree more on this topic as well, because cost optimization. And so we personally have witnessed this in the current times, you know, when the current pandemic actually challenge came, and we were expected to not only skill ourselves, but also save cost in terms of how do we turn on our solutions to our customers. So we were figuring out how we can reach out to maximum audience and upskill them. So only e-learning, which was more scalable, and virtual online delivery, which was again more scalable in terms of reaching out to our customers, our students, came to our rescue, because all our classrooms were shut down overnight, and we were expected to deliver online. So all those scalability, cost optimization, monitoring, actually again was possible because of the solutions what Desmond talked about.
Thank you, Vikas. Moving on to the next question, this is regards to the training and certification landscape. How is the COVID-19 and the current pandemic has changed the training and certification landscape? Because would you like to
Yeah,
answer?
it's a very good question again, and this is very relevant in the current times. We all know that, you know, we were talking about the virtual delivery, virtual online classes, e-learnings, LMS, much before COVID-19 hit us, before the current pandemic came in, right? But the times when everything went virtual. Now the office is virtual, the meetings are virtual. So of course, training and certifications cannot be isolated from all this, right? So in short, we have seen a huge upsurge in virtual training, and by being accessible to a larger audience, a global audience, we have seen a huge demand of training and certification. Not only because of the lockdown restrictions, or because of we being more accessible to the students, but also because of the fact that the current pandemic actually created the demand for new skills by going more digital in the industry. You know, because today uh, today today we are talking, or we have been talking about transformation since long. But what this pandemic actually has just done is put this whole world into a real transformation sort of overnight. We was expected to deliver our solutions on a real fast track mode from our homes, from our virtual offices. And hence there was a definite need of upskilling and cross skilling employees right there at their from their bedrooms. So we reached out to them. We delivered e-learnings, we delivered content on demand, we delivered instructor-led trainings through various tools. And thankfully our partners and our vendors also supported us by offering the certifications which are proctored online. So today, as Vivek also talked about certifications some time back, so all those certifications can be availed, can be taken up sitting from your home. So we have online proctoring available. We have online classes available. So it really come down to one's ability, you know, to adapt to be able to adapt these changes, upgrade themselves with those required skills versus what is available, bridge those skill gaps, and hence everyone can find way to be able to learn fast and to be able to adapt more quickly. So it is just about a culture which we talked about culture of lifelong learning and continuous learning, and to be able to learn anything from anywhere.
Thank you, Vikas. Vivek, would you like to add your thoughts on this?
Yeah, sure. I think this COVID pandemic has accelerated the learning tech by a decade. And I think I keep on hearing this from many experts in the industry. It was not supposed to be where it is right now, to be honest. It was going slow, it was going on a safe pace, right? So it was like, okay, yeah, we do have an LMS. Yes, we do develop the content. But I think all of a sudden, boom, right? And there was a need, and I think when there is a need, the real need, right? I think people start to become very, very creative. But at the same time, I think we need to have creativity, a practical creativity aspect also there, right? If you look at Zoom, for example, it means when before pandemic, it was like, okay, yes, it was going with the snail pace, but all of a sudden it just came across, and Zoom has now become, I don't know, maybe a verb or a noun or whatever in the English dictionary as well now. So you are actually Zooming pretty much every single day. And that has really helped Zoom as a company to grow as well, right? And this is how the evolution of the learning technology has happened within this last few 12 months to 13 months, so to say. Now, coming back to the actual question that you had around the certifications in pandemic and so on. Yes, I think the basic question is that how do we make sure that the employees are skilled enough even from working from their home, right? So that becomes a challenge because especially on the compliance side, when on the pharma sector that we actually work for, with learning management systems and so on, I think it was very imperative, not just for the content, but also for system validation, right? Because how do we make sure that the systems are getting validated in terms of deployments, in terms of making sure that the customer adoption is happening. And our customers were not just using their employees, but they also have their vendor ecosystem, they have their partner ecosystem, and also their sales teams involved in the certification, because the vendor had to be certified if they want to kind of deal with. So we actually are a partner for IBM. So we have to also be certified every single year by taking some online courses. And this would not have been possible if there were some kind of ability for us to take it. But certification definitely becomes very key, not just in the cloud technology certification front, but also across the board. And I think that's where things starts to kind of evolve around, hey, how do I make sure that the right level of learning is imparted so that my organization and employees are current with what we are expecting to have them deliver, right? So that becomes definitely something for us to kind of look forward to. Desmond, I'm not sure from your perspective, how does the certification or our skills really work out, especially on the cloud optimization front?
Yes, I mean, definitely, you know, like certification and and upscaling the individuals, I think that is very key here. What I would like to say is, as the world evolves, like the technologies evolve, and it's really hard to catch up. And if one would like to, be on top of the world and know everything, I think, the only way to get there is to have, a giant where like this person can stand on the shoulders of. So, like I won't say that, any of the cloud management platforms are giants, but, those are definitely like a good tool, a good platform for people to use, while not having to have like full knowledge of everything. Like, I don't claim that I have full knowledge of like Kubernetes, for example, but I today with some help of the, a good platform can probably administer a Kubernetes cluster, right? So I would like to say here, like, when we think about certification and skill upgrading and whatnot, we need to think about our tools as well, right? And what kind of tools that can help you like just like jump 10 feet while you can just like put in like one, like 10% of the energy. So yeah, just wanted to add that.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Moving on to the next question. When should we go to the cloud-based solution? Vivek, would you like to answer this?
Oh, for the learning tech?
Yes.
I think for every learning tech implementation or strategy, you need to start thinking cloud now. I don't think that there is any other way. I know that the sector that we deal in, which is pharma, is way behind right now in that level of adoption, because they're still on Prime. And there are some numbers coming out around 40% of the sector is still on Prime just because of the security and compliances related issues. But I think things are opening up. And most of the companies, especially even in the regulated industries, have started adopting cloud. So be the Yeah, well, thank you. So I think that becomes very key for us to kind of start thinking from right from day one. Now, there are 2 or 3 things that you really need to kind of understand from how and when, and you can actually build that strategy up, right? What level of information that you may need for making a certain decision, whether you want to kind of really go or what kind of cloud that you may really need. And so a couple of points or things like that is going to be around, hey, what is my maintenance cost is going to be around data backups and security. What is my my IT support cost is going to be if I want to really kind of go on prime versus on cloud. There are a few things around content management and the data. And your global presence across, right? So, and where this data really needs to kind of render, whether it is going to be within your confinements of your offices or whether it's going to be global for global audiences. I think the way that things are evolving now, learning management systems, which were pretty closed in nature, have also started to evolve in nature in terms of making it more social learning, right? So employees have started to kind of share what they're learning every day. Companies like Slack is kind of also enabling that workflows. So learning management system may not be learning management systems in the near future, and things will be just an open conglomeration of your systems where employees are able to share knowledge bases within their organization. Microsoft recently announced their own employee learning system. They don't necessarily call that as a learning management system, but it is more federated. I think people are sharing a lot of information. They are getting a lot of relevant information and so on and so forth by subscribing to channels, by creating channels, right? And learning can happen pretty much anywhere, anytime. It's not necessarily that you really need to have a very structured training. And I think that's where I see that things are growing. And to support that level of federated approach in learning, I think cloud technologies definitely becomes pretty key in that level of strategy, because you never know where your employees are going to be, when they're going to be accessing the content, whether how secure that is going to be. And at the end of the day, how can I save cost, right? And that becomes very key factor in terms of deciding at the end of the day. But my thing would be that if you're thinking about learning tech, evangelizing cloud technology should be a part of your thinking process and strategy.
Makes sense. And Vivek, I would like to just echo what you said. I think social learning is very, very important. And these days people don't learn like through a structural way. Like they talk about certain topic, and then like they talk with their peers, and and then something conjures up, and that becomes another innovation. So like we like at Akila Clouds, we take that to heart as well. Like like on our platform, we put in the element of socialization, right? Like we want to enable like in platform communication. This just like just like what Google Doc is doing, or like many other platforms are doing. And we believe that this kind of like social learning or social or like cross-pollination is exactly what is needed in any platform, including what we do to help people like do their finance management in the cloud as well.
Absolutely. And just to add, Daspan and Vivek, the social learning actually has taken a different form altogether. By combining the contest which is healthy, and competing peer to peer while learning together. So whether a group is large enough or a small size group, there's something called as hackathons, which we also have been conducting, which actually not only has the context part to it, but also learning along with competing with your peers. So that behavior of learning along with working together with colleagues, with industry peers, actually derive the maximum takeaways from the whole cloud technology which it has to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that this is a very close to my heart kind of topic around learning. And I think the evolution of learning is definitely something for us to look at. Someone recently asked me, hey, why are you guys calling this as a learn tech, and what is ed tech? Is there a new tech which is kind of coming up? And I think that's where the difference lies, right? I think education becomes very structured and learning is with your experiences, right? And I think the more that you experience and then you are able to share your experiences, that's where the learning technology is enabling the organizations to really kind of take and go to the next level. However, I think EdTech also complements that, because you can't necessarily have experiences created without having a little bit of a structured training at the same time, right? So EdTech also becomes a key element in here. But looking at EdTech space or the LearnTech, right? I usually call it as LearnTech because we deal in the experiential learning space. By making sure that we are working with organizations and universities in that space. But I think EdTech and LearnTech kind of complement each other in many different ways in their evolution. But having a little structured training essentially in the universities, which is very, very big. I think learning everywhere, anywhere, competitions, the hackathons that Vikas just spoke about, how do I enable all sorts of engagement activity also becomes pretty key, right? Because if you look at dropout rates within universities, that's at a different level. So it becomes very key for us to make sure that your customers, and in this university case, it's the students, are also engaged to a certain degree, so that they are competitive, they're acknowledged. And I think the learning and competitions and certification probably is a good way for them to be in that space and have that level of support ecosystem. So, right?
Yeah. Thank you guys for sharing your thoughts on those questions. And I would like to thank all our attendees for attending this webinar. You can reach out to our speakers via email. I'm just sharing for your reference. And I hope our attendees have got a detailed insights on cloud technologies and learning technologies.
Hey, Amol, your screen is not shared, I think, if you want to share it again.
Just a minute, sir. I hope my screen is visible, right? So.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, means thanks, Amol, for helping coordinate and moderate this. And again, to all the attendees, thanks for attending. Feel free to reach out to us. I think the email IDs and the links are already shared. So more than happy to talk.
Yep,
Great.
definitely more than happy to talk to any one of you.
Yep. Great. Thank you so much. Thanks, Amol. Thanks, Vivek. And thanks, Desmond. Thanks, everyone, for your time today. Looking forward to talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.